Welcome into a midweek new edition of Bleav in Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel. Desmond Johnson in the house with the Panthers' all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. We figured that we do a little something different with the Panthers on a bye, so we can't really preview a game coming up this Sunday, but we can give you some of the best Panther content creators in the business, starting off with Panthers Radio Network's very own Jim Szoke, a man who's been with this franchise since its inception pretty much. Jim, in the house. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing well. Hope you guys are doing well.
We are fantastic. But of course, if you're here to talk a little Panthers football. And of course, the Panthers are on a bye. So we want to get Jim Szoke's report card. Again, a man who has immense wisdom and knowledge of the Carolina Panthers franchise. And Jim Szoke, you've seen the ups, you've seen the downs, and now you've seen this season where I don't think we've won back-to-back games since like, what was it, October, September?
We won 3 in a row, early on.
Yeah, and then it's just been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. And there's no rhyme or reason to what the win is and what the loss is. Like, we lose to places that we think we're going to beat them by 10, and then we beat teams that we were crowning the best teams in the league, 4
we
days
can beat
prior.
the best of them, and we can lose to the worst of them.
Lose to the worst of them. So let's dive in. So, Szoke, Panthers defense. Now, this defense was much maligned last year. They were missing a lot of bodies last year. One man in particular in the middle of all of it who's been causing havoc ever since he came back this year. What grade would you give the Panthers defense, and what's your reasoning behind it?
Well, the team itself is 7-6, so I have to factor that into everything because that's the ultimate grade of what you are. So you can't go too over the top. But I'm going to give that defense a B+ for holding it together the way that they have. And I think Ejiro Evera's done a great job scheming up with whatever personnel he's got every week. So the defense to me gets a B+. You can take some individual guys like Derek Brown and give them an A+, but as a unit, B+. I mean, in the Rams game, they kept it reasonable. Rams scored 28 points. That's a tough team to get a low number on. I think overall, I think the defense has been so much improved from last year, and at times because of personnel, but at times. Last week, you had guys that were just signing up on Tuesday to come be part of the team that were out there, and you've got guys off the special teams playing bigger roles on defense and moving around. So I think with all the moving parts, especially from this past game, I like what they've been able to put together. And I think in most weeks, more than not, the defense has kept the score reasonable, give the offense a chance.
Stu, let's do it like this. Whatever grade Jim gives, whatever thing I'm going to ask you, higher or lower. So where would you go with that? You gave him a B+? Would you go higher or lower?
I would stay right there with a B+. To that, it hasn't been a shutout performance this year, right? I mean, you look at the Patriots game. There's a couple games out there, the Buffalo Bills game where they ran all over us. So I think we have a good enough team on defense to put ourselves in position to beat teams like the Rams, right? Get 3 turnovers. I think we're an opportunistic defense. And so to be a dominant defense, that means you got, all pro bowlers kind of lined across the whole entire board. And I think we have all pro and Derek Brown. I think we have some future all pro guys. We have all pro, in my mind, J.C. Horn. He's leading the league in interceptions. And so I'm right there in line with Jim, B+, room for improvement.
I think, B+ is good for them considering where they were at this point last year, to Jim's point, where we were literally
which is fascinating.
Yeah, we were looking at roster sheets like, who's that? Who's that? Who's this? Like every Sunday, it felt like the last 4 weeks of the season. I've always been a guy that said that to have an elite defense, you need to have an elite player at all 3 levels, at least one. You need an elite guy on the defensive line, you need an elite linebacker, and you need somebody in the secondary that's considered elite. I think they got 2 of the 3. Like Derek Brown, each week I come on here and rave about something that Derek Brown did, either ragdolling somebody or
King Kong,
taking on a double team and still making a tackle. There was a play a couple weeks ago where he literally ran from one side of the field to the other and ran down the dude that caught the ball and made a solo tackle in midfield. Like the dude is just a problem. He's a mutant. He's like, I can't figure out like how to place him in terms of ranking him. But I can't think of another defensive tackle right now that I would take over Derek Brown, like in the entire league. Like right now, he's just playing at a level that the national media, I think, is slowly starting to catch up on. I saw Kay Adams talking about him yesterday on her show. And I'm like, slowly but surely, they're starting to realize who this dude is. And to Stu's point, J.C. Horn, I think he's a top 5 cornerback in the league. Like he's an elite cornerback. So I could see Dan Morgan. We were joking about it off camera before we started. I could see him cooking, looking for that middle linebacker or a linebacker to kind of complete this trifecta. And they're all around the same age. They're all early 20s. So they're all going to grow together. And they've already been re-upped. Like JC and Derek Brown have been re-upped here. So it's very interesting what they've done to select the guys that they've given money to over the past couple of years. Those two plus Chuba Hubbard, who we'll get to in just a bit. Bryce Young, Jim, give me your grade on Bryce Young. And this, I don't know where this is going to go, because we don't know where Bryce is going to go half the time. Like when he's on, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think he's one of the better. I think he is the best quarterback out of his class at this point by far. But when he's off, he's off. And I don't know if it's because it's technically his second year with Canales, so we kind of count it as his second year overall, because we kind of whitewashed the rookie year. Like that didn't really count, in my opinion. What grade do you give Bryce Young now after this, especially after the past 3 weeks?
So we're doing it for the season though, right?
Yeah.
The entire body of work. And I have to look at, there's 32 teams. So I'm going to base this ranked on like within the NFL 32 teams where he ranks. And I would say he's somewhere probably, slightly below average as far as like the middles would be 16. So I'd have to go like C plus because of the ups and downs. Even in the win last week, I mean, I'm not a big stats game. You won the game against the number one team, I think, in the NFL, and he had a big hand in it with those two big passes. But you do have to look at the body of work. You do have to look at, I don't know what our updated stats are this week in the league, but we're 27th in passing heading into the game and 28th in points. So it's hard to say he's an A or he's a B plus because you're the quarterback of that team. So I think it's reasonable to say C plus with the ability to get to B minus, I would think, as the season wears on, maybe even B over the next 4 games. But as we sit here today and you look at the total numbers, the total body of work, where he compares with other quarterbacks in the league, I'd have to go C plus for his grade.
What do you think, Stu? Higher or lower?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a B minus. Just given the games where it seems like him and Canales are on the same page, the game plan, when the game plan is right, Bryce is right. So, and I think we sometimes look at the quarterback position and think to ourselves, okay, he has to wear the cape all the time. I look at all these other teams across the league, Super Bowl teams that have a quarterback that's wearing the cape all the time. That's very rare, right? And it's also very rare that they win the Super Bowl if it's just all about Bryce, right? If it's all about that QB1 spot, there's got to be other elements to the game. There's got to be other elements to the strategy that pulls Bryce into what we see, like what we saw on Sunday. 3rd and 4th down, it seems like that was passing downs, right? It's like third and short, right? Because it helps Bryce because the defense is obviously thinking run. You then get opportunities behind the defense when those linebackers are, getting closer to the line of scrimmage. So you're starting to figure out how your quarterback works. And I think that's the reason why I give him a B, because I feel like the remainder of the season, we've had a lot of learning moments this year. This bye week, hopefully we don't overthink and we don't overcoach and we don't overplan, and we just go out there and just run the things that we're good at, and do it with healthy players. Hopefully a lot of guys get back.
That's a great point with Bryce Young in terms of his game seems to fly off the handle when we have to go off script. Like when we have to kind of adjust like mid-game to something another team is doing. It doesn't seem like, and that might be a Dave Canales thing more so than Bryce Young in terms of what we're running, because we kind of get away from the things of what we are. When we stick from beginning to end to our game plan, whatever it was in that game, we've won those games. But it's
Jim, what's the game plan?
It should be run the ball. Run the ball.
Yeah, run the ball.
I'm trying to get Stu to get his own line of T-shirts with the J Stu run the ball.
Run the ball.
The key to victory today is
run it. You got two great running backs right now. Your offensive line, you've put more money in that than anything else on the team so far. So run the ball. And I think is when we get cute and decide we want to throw it like 15 times in the first quarter or whatever, and we start losing confidence, and it trickles down across the offense. And then once you're not running, Stu, you can maybe answer this. If you're not running early, how easy is it to start running like in the third quarter? Like, isn't it one of those things you got to do it like at the beginning, like kind of apply pressure? Then you can't just be like, we're going to run the ball. Now we're going to run the ball.
Running the ball is a mentality. Like you start the game off and someone smacks you in the face, like you get punched in the chest and get thrown on the floor. Like It's okay. This is the type of battle we're up against today.
It's like a
If you don't show that
No.
early, you don't show that hand early, the defense is gonna be like, okay, we got them, right? We're gonna
giving
be
them
the
confidence.
aggressor. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna be the aggressor here. So I always took pride in the first play being a run play. I mean, I remember the Seahawks game, and I was really hoping, like, please just give me the first play so that way I can adjust to this, because I was out for 3 weeks leading into this playoff game against the Seahawks, and
2015.
and lo and behold, we ran 55 stutter, downhill run, followed Tolbert, and I heard a bunch of cracking, bunch of hits, bunch of everything, and we took it to them first play of the game, and that's how it was the rest of the game. So you get to set the tone.
Yeah, it set the tone, definitely.
Yeah,
man, Baker America was rocking that day. I remember it was like shaking.
Jim,
and that was
I got a question. I got a question right quick. What is one trait about Bryce Young that scares you the most? And because we're talking about him, we're talking about his grade and whatnot. But when he shows up on Sunday, what is the trait that scares you the most that he carries?
As far as from the Panther perspective or the other team's perspective?
Well, from the Panthers' perspective.
From our perspective,
yeah,
it's the consistency, and I think his preparation and all that is consistent. But there's certain games you go, okay, you see him throwing these laser tight NFL window passes, and then the next week he'll just miss guys out in the flat that are uncovered, and that's the thing that kind of gets me, because I think with Bryce, there are certain things you're not going to have. You're not going to have the biggest arm. You're not going to have the biggest stature in the pocket, things like that. What you count on are his intelligence and his accuracy. So he needs to be to me, like Drew Brees. Like, he hits that target like 95% of the time. Like, that's got to be your thing. You've got to be on that. And I think what I liked about this win, by the way, this past week, it was out in the elements. It was rainy. It was windy. It was against the number one scoring defense in the league. So I'm glad it wasn't like in a dome and everything was perfect. So I like that part of it. I want to see more of that, where he plays really well in those settings, like where he's out there and can deal with the weather. He can deal with guys in his face with arms up in the air, that kind of thing. So just that consistent Sunday performance. I know he prepares the same way every week, but showing it in the games that way.
Because that's when go ahead.
I was gonna say, it was kind of revealing that Dave Canales kind of in the post game, where they were talking about the fourth down throw for the touchdown that he threw to, I think it was Coker in the corner. He was like, I would have been happy with the first down. Like, I don't think they called that. I think just he saw it. Bryce saw it and just went for it. And that's the difference for me. Like, some games he does that, and some games it's check down Charlie, like the whole day. Like he just can't figure out how to get downfield for whatever reason. If you get the kid mad, the next week he comes out and balls out, throws for 400 yards, beats the Rams, like whatever it is. But if he's not mad, it's almost like LeBron James a little bit. You have to kind of push him into a corner for him to show his true form.
So Bryce Young is like LeBron James.
That's the first time I've ever heard that comparison of Bryce Young to LeBron James.
In terms of him having to get revved up to go, like he's not like Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan was trying to rip off your face as soon as he saw you at the tip off. Like, it's not like that. LeBron gets like that when he's down, elimination game. Like, when you see him in the tip off, you see him in the lineup and he's like, doing the layup drills. He ain't saying nothing. He ain't playing. He's got that look on his face. And then he just comes out and hits like the first 9 shots and backs you down and all the stuff he normally doesn't do. That's Bryce Young. When he's been called out by the Panthers Twitter and the media for a horrible game, and they're talking about we shouldn't extend him and all this other stuff. We'll get into it, Chris Lee, in a bit. That's when he comes out the next week, and we're like, that's who we drafted. That's who he is right there. That's the frustrating part.
we're giving the media too much credit. I can guarantee you that Bryce is not doing this because of the media and what people are saying. He's doing this because he's going back and watching film and saying to himself,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
why did I do this?
You could tell in the post game 2 weeks ago, like after the sleeper to the Saints, you could just hear his demeanor at the podium. Like, yeah, I got to be better. This got to be better. I need to do a better job. Like, he knew what they were going to ask him, and he just literally went down the checklist. And then you get the game from this week from him, where he's just throwing the ball in the middle of the field on 4th and 2 and throwing 20+ yard touchdowns on 4th down. I mean, like, it's crazy.
That's a game plan thing too, right? Like, you talk about what you're going to do throughout the week, and you execute it on game day. And it also helps with the receivers, right? You got a young group of guys, Jim. which receiver so far this year has raised your eyebrows? And that it can't be T-Mac.
Well, yeah, because that would be in the NFL. It would be T-Mac, let alone the Panthers.
Yeah.
And real quick on those 2 4th down plays, I asked Dave Canales about that. Those are relatively low percentage plays if you're throwing 30-yard passes on 4th down and 3. And he said they just love going into the game, the bigger physical receiver matchup against their smaller corners. So they did work on that all during the week for those situations to occur where they thought they could take those shots. I like Jalen Coker. I'm still waiting on Xavier Legette. I just outside of maybe one game, parts of other games, I'm just not seeing a big or consistent impact as far as upside goes. I think last year I felt this way, and I still feel this as far as our current roster. It's Jalen Coker, to me, is probably the second best wide receiver to T-Mac on this team, and it's not close, I would say. I think Jalen's got the most upside.
What would you give that wide receiver room grade-wise?
I would, as a group, because of T-Mac, carrying them on his back. And again, he's got twice as many catches as anybody else in the room. So he is most of the room. Got to be honest about that. And I'm going to factor in this case, their youth, as opposed to just like, let's look at across the league and some of the great receiving groups across the league for what they're working with and what they've got. I'm going to give that an A- because I think T-Mac is going to be potentially a top 5 wide receiver in this league during his time at certain seasons.
Shout out to everybody who clowned me when I said that they should not draft Ted McMillan, along with half of the Panther fan base that did not agree with that pick when it actually happened. And then now look at us where it worked out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it worked out. Like, who knew they actually could use him? I'm going to say,
and you got to look at the pairing too, right there with Bryce. Like the bigger targets, the bigger receivers. I think we have probably the tallest receiving group.
We do. Yeah,
in
there's a minimum amount of snaps for it, but yeah, we have the Coker's 6'3", Xavier's 6'3", Tet's like 6'4", 6'5". Even the tight ends are 6'4", 6'5". So yeah, I think they have the tallest in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the pairing, good job by Dave and Dan by getting the right guys in that room, so that way it can be beneficial to the passing game with Bryce.
I love the addition too of Mitchell Evans, and what I like about him is you don't know if he's out there as a blocker or receiver. So he's never going to be a guy that probably gets more than, say, 4 catches, 45 yards or whatever in a game, but he's going to score some touchdowns. But I love the fact that when he comes out there, it's not like Sanders who's come out. He's out there to be a receiving tight end. You don't know. Yeah. He may throw a great block, or he may trickle out after a fake run on a play action and be the open receiver. And I love what his impact could be moving forward.
And his impact too, Jim, this past game, it's very rare that you see a rookie take on the responsibility of like getting guys set. There was a couple times on motions and guys trying to figure out where they're supposed to line up during the game, and he was the one that was out there with his hands up, like, "Hey, everyone, pause! Everyone, settle." It must be that Notre Dame thing, that education of him just being aware. But I saw him yesterday at the stadium for a brief moment, and I pointed it out to him because I just wanted him to know that I appreciate those little things, because it's the little things that become part of the culture, part of the DNA. We want to care about the ball, but we also want to care about how we do things. We want to do things the right way and not miss moments like that, miss opportunities to just make sure we're all dialed in and on the same page. So I really appreciate that out of him.
The last one, I'm going to combine it. Head coach Dave Canales and general manager Dan Morgan, both of them in their second seasons, grade them as a combo. Canales and Morgan on what they've done the offseason leading into this season and this season itself up to this point.
And again, and Stu, of course, knows this. You're graded in the league by your record, and they've got a winning record through 13 games. I think there's obviously room for improvement. We mentioned New Orleans, obviously, getting their shot at them coming up in a week and a half. If they'd won that game, I'd go A, straight A. I'll probably go A- because there's room for improvement, obviously. But to take the Dan Morgan part of things, I think he did as much in this offseason as you could do through the combination of the draft and free agency, plugging holes while also finding a future star. You always want to come out of the draft with at least a future star, and they've done that with Tedero and McMillan. But they plugged so many holes on the defensive side for a defense that was just needing everything at all 3 levels. And obviously Trayvon Merrick has been a great addition along with some of the others in there along the defensive 3 levels of defense. And so and I think the coaching of Dave Canales, again, he'll be the first to admit it's not perfect. I love the fact that he had the conversation with Rico Dowdle after the loss with the 49ers and said, "That's on me. You're going to be running the ball more." And And Rico came out and said, that's all you ask for from a coach is have those open conversations. So I think he's a young coach who's growing. And Dan Morgan's a relatively young GM as far as being the lead guy. So I give those guys an A- for doing a great job. And they've got them in a position with 4 games to go to be in the postseason. That's a great amount of improvement just to this point already.
You agree with that, Stu? A-?
I give it an A+++++. Because from last year to this year, night and day. The defense is night and day.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling in December, Jim. I'm smiling.
You look at the roster, it's a complete morph. It's just, and it was so intentional. And Dan Morgan, when you talk to Dan, he's so calm and but it's also like a calm killer instinct, right? Like that's a guy that you want planning like combat. Like if you're going on a mission, go save someone. Hey, Dan, can you plan this for us? Can we get the right people in the room? And so, and because he's a guy that's going to look at the tape, he's going to see whether or not you understand ball and whether or not you love ball. But then he's going to have a conversation with you, looking you in your eyes. And you look at them eyes, them Dan Morgan eyes, and you try to look away, you ain't here. You ain't here to stay, right? You can tell the guys that try to, you have a conversation with them, you look at them in the eye, and they try to look away. I'm like, nah, look at me. Are you scared? Do you have fear right now? But
you have that dog in you?
You got that dog in you? Yeah, where that dog at? But yeah, man, A+ because again, Desmond's smiling, fans are smiling.
I'm so happy.
Kids are identifying positive moments within this.
Jim, you've been on my show the past couple of years on terrestrial radio up here in the Triad. This is literally, I've hosted Bleav in Panthers for 6 years. I've hosted this show since 2020. I was one of the first Bleav hosts that they hired. I have yet to make it to a winning season as host of this show, like in 6 years. So yeah, It's December 2nd, and I'm just sitting there just cheesing. Like, I don't even know what I want. Like, I don't even know.
Can you please tell Jim what I said before the season started about the Carolina Panthers and what record they were going to be?
What did you pick them at? It's like you had them at 11 wins, I think.
I sure did.
And I think I looked at them like
that would be an A+.
Yeah. Hey, it's sitting there. If they win out,
my expectations are high, man.
That's the only reason I couldn't give this an A+ at 7-6 because it doesn't leave room for being a improvement. That's 11-6. 11-6. If you have me back in 4 weeks, A++. I'll be right there with Jay Stu with that.
Yeah. We got to get Jim out of here. Jim, find him on the Panthers Radio Network. It's a pleasure listening to them. Stu's with them a lot when they're at home games. So he's on with them as well in the pregame and the postgame. But they do an excellent job. Anish Shroff, Luke Kuechly, Jake Delhomme, Jim Szoke, all you guys that do this. Sometimes I get in my car after the game because I know Stu's got a bit before he can get on, and I'll go to the store or something just so I can hear the radio and you guys talking about the game or whatnot. And it kind of helps prep me for whatever we want to talk about on Bleav in Panthers for our live show when we come on right after. So shout out to you guys. And I hope you guys are having as much fun this season as we've been having so far, because you guys have been going through it too.
We love it. The more Jonathan Stewart, the better. And as we always say, run the ball.
Run that rock. Run the ball, man. Don't be crazy.
So we're going to get you out of here. So appreciate you, Jim, for stopping by.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.